shoulders, palms sweaty in position. One club spotlight, AI my ammunition. Live demo games, the glory or the fall. Data stream glitching, tech don't stall.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Emily Lennon, president of the One Club for Creativity Denver. One Club Denver is a nonprofit celebrating creativity across Colorado, hosting workshops, competitions, and events to bring the creative community together. We have chapters all across the US, so I encourage you to visit us at oneclub.org to find one near you. And if you're in Denver, I would love to see you at one of our events. Now, I'm excited to introduce today's workshop, Elevate Your Creative Flow with Generative AI. Leading us today is Christian Robbins, Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of $11 Bill and Intelligent Post-Production. With over 25 years of experience, Christian has been at the forefront of content creation, leading the way in concept development, design, production, and post-production. His expertise in integrating AI into creative workshops makes him the perfect guide for today's discussion. So please join me in welcoming Chris. Now over to you, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And thanks again for taking your lunch and spending it with me. And thanks to, Emily and Lisa and everyone at One Club for getting this together. So I would love to talk about this stuff. So I'm going to get this thing rolling right now. Let's share some screens here. Do. All right. Hopefully you can kind of see me poking out in the corner over there. All right. So again, thanks. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself here. So who the hell is this guy and why is he talking to you about AI? So I'm Chris. I'm a creative guy and a chronic early adopter of new tech. And mainly my job is to experiment and curate. Is this great or does this suck? And teach it to people, right? And I run $11 Bill. And so, what we do, we're a post-production company. We've got offices in Chicago, Boulder, which is where I'm at currently, and Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. We handle everything from production to post. We are very VFX, motion graphics heavy, editorial shop. So a lot of that is my background. I'm big and heavy into AI, motion graphics, compositing, visual effects. Me and my buddy in college made some really decent music together. So, we got a sense of rhythm. I thought was decent anyway. And I, won some shiny awards and stuff like that. But aside from that, it's really just, trying to build, relationships with our clients and, getting our face and what we do in front of people, because what we do is a little bit different than a traditional post house. So that's kind of what this talk is a little bit about. So I want to show you a headline that I've seen that I sums it up for a lot of people. And I know y'all can read, but I'll just say it out loud here. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. Yeah, just like you, I want to have more time to make art, right? And the goal here isn't to replace creativity. It's just to remove all the tedious crap that gets in the way of it. So, this presentation really is about tools or workflows. I've been really pragmatically implementing AI into our workflow over the last few years here at $11 Bill. And so the stuff I'm going to show you is through the lens of post-production. But I think there's something for everybody in this to take away. And, the elephant in the room here, and, my close friends and I talk about this a lot. Most creatives really feel threatened by AI because, they see it as undermining their craft, right? Replacing their skills, and that fear often stems from this deep personal connection, that creatives have to their process. But embracing, what AI can do is all about finding new ways to enhance that process, not lose control of it. And the reality is AI is not here to replace creative vision, but it's to amplify it. So this workshop, like I said, isn't just about tools, right? And solutions. It's about rethinking complete workflows. And by the end of this, hopefully you'll know how to, use AI to speed up ideation, execution, iteration, build workflows tailored to yourself that let you pivot and experiment freely, work faster without sacrificing creativity or quality. And, don't let these new solutions, these new tools, this new software define you, right? Like it's a way to get ourselves back to a fluid state of creative freedom, by making all this like time-consuming stuff happen within a fraction of the time. And what does that allow us to do? Well, hey, it's our title slide. Yay. It allows you to elevate your creative flow, right? And this is, if you don't know what creative flow is, I like to think of it as this. It's that state where ideas come effortlessly, execution is seamless, you're not overthinking. You remember a time when you did that? It's the best. And there's so many killers of flow out there right now, like workflows that slow momentum, revisions, approvals, bottlenecks galore, siloed teams and misalignment, tools that create more friction than they solve. I mean, AI helps protect and extend the creative flow by eliminating that stuff. The setup, the waiting for assets, iteration, allowing you to quickly test, tweak, refine without like stalling, keeping your teams aligned. I mean, AI makes it easier to stay on the same page creatively. And the goal isn't just to use AI, it's to use it to stay in this flow state. And when teams experience this creative flow together, that's really when the best work happens. So as you're watching this today, think in the back of your head, like, how do I integrate AI in a way that keeps your team moving forward instead of slowing things down, right? So this is how we do this. We want to educate our clients so we can just blow up the traditional workflows and work in a really new and unique way, right? You have to, establish this line of trust. You don't want to use AI, to your clients. You want to use it with them. You want to build comfort. You want to build confidence. You also want to be transparent about the usage. So then you become this trusted expert in it and like what you should and shouldn't do with it. And AI strengthens human creativity. It doesn't replace it. It's more of an augmentation, not a replacement. So, and in the end, there's this beautiful byproduct that comes out of all of this, and it elevates the entire client experience, right? And a room full of people who are, who suddenly are not in a client vendor relationship anymore. They're a unified creative team just making cool shit. And like that's the goal here. So, you know, this is how we did this. And like I said, we're post production, right? So I'm going to show you a bunch of basic stuff first. Things that, go early stages before we even hit post production, but things that are just essential building blocks. This is how we pragmatically use AI at $11 bill. This is how we started using it, what problems we're running into, how we felt more comfortable getting our clients to understand it. So, and this is something I realized. I'm prompting wrong, right? And I'm sure you're all familiar with Chat GPT and large language models, LLMs. Prompts are the basic building blocks of what I'm going to show you today. And frankly, most people are prompting incorrectly. And it's unfortunate because that this is a big barrier for entry for people wanting to use AI stuff. And the whole point of AI is that it removes barriers for entry. So what's the problem? They try it, doesn't do what they want. They're like, nah, that's the wrong POV. So take a look at this. This is from OpenAI President Greg Brockman. Okay, this guy is the president of all of the Chat GPT, OpenAI, all that stuff. He shared this framework on how to structure the perfect prompt, and this is so important, right, to make effective prompts. And it's broken into 4 points. So the first is a goal, right? Like you need to have a goal. There's millions of ways to complete these tasks, but you really need to tell it what you actually need. Be specific. And then return format. This is, you need to tell it how you want its response back to you. There's so many styles for it to respond back to you with. You need to give that prompt some guardrails. And there's warnings. And the reason why you need to do this is because people assume LLMs have their sensibilities and their mindsets, but you need to tell it what to do and what not to do. And finally, give it some context, right? Like, what are you doing this for? What's my research? You got any info? You got any notes? You got any ideas? Cool. Condense it, drop it down in this section. Don't make it too big, and you're good to go. So I'm going to show you just a really dumb demo real quick. So I'm sure you're all familiar with this interface. You know, I think you've all seen this before. So let's do something that would like a beginner, person who's using AI would see in and want to use it for, like a copywriter, right? So let's do something like let's write us a 15-second ad for a sports drink. Okay, let's see what it gives us here. Okay, we got a little scene, high energy montage, athletes pushing their limits, the VOs, you don't slow down, you don't quit, neither should your fuel, hydrate, replenish, dominate. VO, brand name, fuel the fight. So, okay, right, it's missing some data. It sounds a little corny. What can we do about that? All right, well, let's give it a goal. So here's the goal. I need a script for a 15-second ad for a high energy sports drink targeting Gen Z athletes. Cool. Okay. We got a goal now. And here's a return format. Write the script in a standard commercial format with voiceover lines, sound effects, and action descriptions. Great. And here's what we don't want it to do. We don't want it to use cliches like feel the energy or unleash your potential, keep it, modern and punchy. And then let's give it some context here. Um, Drinks called Hyper. Well, that's good. That's better than brand name. I wouldn't drink anything called brand name. And it's known for its electric blue color. Think Red Bull. It's edgy and fun. Red Bull meets TikTok. It runs an Instagram reel, so it needs to grab attention the first 2 seconds. Cool. You gave it a lot of clarity there. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, title, hyper, stay wired. All right, this is getting better. Music, fast-paced electronic beat drop, sound effects. Sorry, we got some sound effects now. Fast, punchy VO. Tired? Nah, we don't do tired. Quick montage. Hyper keeps you wired, not just awake, dialed in. So, I mean, you start to see like you get a little bit more directed uh, work from it once you tell it exactly what you need. So that's the difference. You want something generic, or do you want something that's a little bit more dialed in? And obviously, you can keep dialing this in once you understand how these things work. And the point here is you get out what you put in, right? Like it's not an instant copywriter. Use your sensibilities and really think about what you want it to do. Okay. So that's small step. Now, let's talk about ideation. This is fun. I mean, really the hardest part of any project is starting. Blank page syndrome sucks. And, AI is not here to replace your ideas. It helps you pivot, explore, and, iterate faster. So brainstorm and mood boards and storyboards, campaign ideas. So, like going back to ChatGPT real quick, if you ever look on the left side of the screen, there's a GPTs, a marketplace, and you can find all sorts of things. You can find recipes based on food in your kitchen and your fridge today, and travel planning based on budget and time, and creating goals for yourself with actionable milestones. And like you get the idea. I primarily use GPTs for runway and mid-journey prompt generators. And once in a while a chicken recipe. But sometimes my brain really isn't as smart as I want it to be. I'm not a writer. I'm a visual guy, but I do know that there are tools out there to help me craft these prompts. So on the left, this is an example of a runway text to image prompt generator. Okay. I give it a crappy prompt and it gives me three better ones. And on the right, you can kind of work in reverse. I can give it an image and it gives me three prompts based on what I provided to it. So it understands the language that Runway wants to hear, right? And it wants to, this is all to create stuff based on what you mean. So once you start to see how these things work and where you can begin to augment past this point, that's really where you start to get dialed in. So this is where the prompts become a little bit heavier and heavier. So what do we do with this? This is pretty fun stuff. There's an AI tool for nearly everything out there. I mean, text to image, image to video, lip syncing, background removal, face replacement. Name a generative tool and it probably exists. They keep getting better every single day. It's crazy. And I'm a big fan of what Runway is doing these days. I love how they're supporting the artists. They've got a talent development thing. They always throw new tools out. It's within a nice buffer. And like one of my favorite parts about Runway is that you can make these custom models. And what does that mean? So a custom model creates imagery based on whatever you put into it. So images, faces, objects, environments, you train it to create imagery based on what you give to it. So, there's no questions as to where it's sourcing that content from originally when you're the one providing to it. So let's make one. It'll be super fun. Um, so this is my dog. This is Duke. He's a big dummy. So we're gonna make a custom model character of him. Um, so I grabbed 30 photos of Duke from my phone in all various different, boop the snoot poses there, and uploaded them to Runway. And to be honest, this process takes about 15 minutes, and like I only have like an hour with you guys, so I already made the model. And then once we have our custom model, we give it a keyword. And so our keyword is Duke. You can use this for custom prompts. So, for example, a photorealistic image of Duke in a field of flowers. And, the Duke would appreciate this. So let's screw it. Let's see what happens. Let's make some Duke stuff. So here's Duke on the moon. And there's fun stuff happening there, but like you can actually see like it's got his pink nose, it's got his old man, white face, it's got his smile, like I mean a golden retriever is a golden retriever, but that's my golden retriever 100%. Here's Duke working his shitty corporate job, because he doesn't have any thumbs, he can't do any work. So he's really, it's in a bad spot. Here's Duke with the 12 pack of beer playing PlayStation and what appears to be in my living room. But like, yeah, I mean, this is all fun, right? But like the point is there's a consistent character that now I can do whatever I want with, right? So how do you apply this, in a real world setting? Well, we made storyboards and for the latest Dave and Buster's TV spots that are out now, and they look pretty close to the same thing, honestly. And what they are filled with is characters and environments. So what we did is we made a group of kids, and we had them all over the place, and you can see where the kids are looking the same faces. We have another family, a father and a daughter. Where that traditional process of creating a character and drawing it, or doing it in like Midjourney or something like that, this allows you to have like a consistent character reappear, which is really handy in a in a handful of all these images. And we've created these shots based on what we thought good composition should look like, because we edit and we know what works. um and we used a lot of tools for this, Midjourney, Runway, Hailuo AI, to ideate and curate these concepts and visuals in days. So the cool part about this is that you know you have to curate this stuff still. So I'm showing you really cool looking imagery right now, but there are probably about 900 pieces of garbage I would not show anybody, like things that just weren't good. And that's trial and error. It's like, oh, this prompt didn't do what I wanted it to do. Let me try tweaking a little aspect of it. Uh, I made four of these and one of these is good. That's cool. That's how this goes. Like if you're a photographer and you get 500,000 shots, how many are going to end up in the campaign? One or two? You got to think of that same mindset. So it's great outcomes. I mean, the clients bought into the concept. The creative team's on board. The director knows what the vision is. Everybody's on the same page before you even, pick the director. Like that's cool stuff. You know, so let's move from ideation to production and post. And it's another small step, music and VO. This is a very entertaining rabbit hole for me. I love this stuff so much. AI generated audio is just so much fun. I got two daughters, they're 12 and 14, and they're just making their own music to listen to. It's awesome. Like there's many of these, right? But these are my favorites. Udio, I love Udio. It gives you granular control over the lyrics and the structure of the music that you generate. There's Suno, and Suno's badass. It's so fast and it sounds so good. You're just making music under 30 seconds. I mean, the iterations you can pull off and like really dial in are so much fun. And then 11 Labs and Artlist are, big people in the synthesized VO game right now. 11 Labs especially, we're regularly asked by clients to use it. And you can even prompt you text prompt a voice based on client direction, and it creates a voiceover model that then you can create scratch VOs from. It's cool stuff. And Artlist really has like some of the best sounding, like most realistic sounding voiceovers I've encountered yet. And I'll let you have a couple examples of that in a second here. But just to talk about music for a second, if you know me, you know that I'm a late 90s gangster rap aficionado. And so I made a song in Suno right before this presentation, in that style about being nervous to talk to you all and hoping my demos don't crash. So here you go.
Battling the jitters, palm sweaty in position. One club spotlight, AI my ammunition. Live demo games, the glory or the fall. Data stream glitching, tech don't stall. Please don't freeze. Machine just roll like a cipher flow smooth. Keep it in
Yeah,
control.
so you get the point, right?
Crowds
Like
leaning in,
you don't
eyes
have to
burn
make
like
you don't have
coal.
to make songs. I mean, you can make instrumentals. Uh you can make stabs, idents, voiceovers. You can do it like culturally relevant stuff in like by day by in an hour in a 30-minute period, like, and put it in your spot. Like this stuff's amazing. And just to keep moving, I love Artlist voiceovers a ton. They add nuance, pauses, breaths, like all the natural things you expect. So here's an example of one of them.
The thing about fun is just when you thought you'd seen it all, Dave and Buster's makes more to see. More ways to compete with your family, more ways to eat, drink, and play with your friends, and more ways to
Yeah,
win.
and this
Even when
stuff
you're
is like just getting better by the day. And for us as a post-production house to have that ability to just knock out a VO real quick and drop it in and time things to it and see how it plays against picture is really amazing. So this is 11 Labs. And, this morning after I had coffee, I made a custom model of my voice and it took like 10 minutes and we can make it say whatever we want, which is awesome. So let's go do that. Um, yeah, okay, cool. So here, if you guys can see that. So I just wrote this little, positive note for you guys. So let's see what it sounds like.
Hey, party people, thanks for attending my workshop. Hope y'all are having a great time listening to me ramble on about AI and creative flow stuff. Have a great day, you amazing human beings.
Yeah. And then you can also make it swear too, which is really fun. Here you go.
Shit.
Yeah, that's good. So back to that. We're gonna have a good time with this stuff, but like that's fun. Again, like how do we use this in a practical setting, right? So a nameless large pizza brand, that you've probably eaten in your life. We work with them a lot. They have one voiceover talent for all their campaigns. The problem is that we work on tons of content for them simultaneously. We're moving fast. We need specific VO across multiple executions of the campaign. Scripts, when they're written, they work in theory, but we put them up against picture, you might need to tweak some stuff. Real-time feedback's coming in from the client, like so. Script changes are in real time, so we can't wait for her to hop in the booth to help us give us a new read and hope it works. So they trained, just like I showed you here, an AI voice model with their Pro VO talent for us to use as Scratch. And then that allows us to lock in the pacing, the timing, and the script all before the final recording. And the result is that there's faster iteration. There's no waiting for VO revisions. We're just experimenting. We save time, we save cost. The human talent stayed involved. It's AI assisted, not replaced. So it's just about things like this start to keep the team in a creative flow and executing quickly. And like, even if you're not in post, right? The takeaway is this: AI lets you keep the momentum going, whether it's VO, design, copywriting. The faster you can iterate, the more time you have to be creative. So let's talk a little bit about medium steps. These are things that are a little more involved, but they begin to weave their way into workflows once you're comfortable. And you start small, you take a medium step. And okay, this is my favorite part of AI these days is generative video. I love this stuff. I could go on about this for hours, but there's really interesting applications of this new tech. So for instance, augmenting what you acquire on set, right? Like make your own green screen assets for compositing. Let's say you shot a dog and he kept walking off the stage. Cool. Have him sit, prompt him to sit. Boom. Now you got your dog doing nothing. That's not Duke, by the way. It does look like him a lot, but that's not my dog. Or let's say you needed that peasant guy to look towards camera all slow-mo. Cool, tell them to do that. So like you take the existing footage instead of like recreating it, and it's really a powerful post-production tool. Do things like make your own talent, right? Like this looks pretty legit, she looks good. And then make them say whatever the hell you want.
Hey, One Club, it's really great to get the chance to talk to you about AI today. This is pretty neat
So
shit.
we'll kind of circle back to all this generative video stuff again, like later on. But I want to talk about 3D modeling. And 3D modeling is a double-edged sword, right? Like it's beautiful. The people who are artists are so technical. It takes time. It takes so much time. And that's the drawback in things that got to really move quickly. And, just let me give you a mini case study here real quick. But JD Sports, if you're not familiar with them, they're a UK-based, high-end street and sports fashion retail company. They specialize in branded spots. They're super cool. They've always got their finger on the pulse of what's cool, and we've been lucky enough to do some really great work with them. And honestly, we handle everything for like brand manifestos, broadcast, social content, in-store design, out of home, you name it, like we do it for them. And then they kicked off a flagship Times Square store and started building these amazing anchor stores in the US. And there's like 500 screens in these things. And every one of those needs content. So they gave us the blueprints. They're like, cool, let's make an art installation. So everything you see here that's inside of this is, you know, content that's distilled down from like one core piece of, social media content or a shoot or something. And it's all, there's seasonal refreshes there's going to open 250 more of these around the US in the next 2 years. So yeah, we're busy and we're always looking for efficiency. So, and they always challenge us, which is awesome. That's what we love about them. And the challenge was to do what the UK team did with a smaller budget and less time. So here you go. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Like, that's good 3D, the lighting, the motion tracking. There's some mats going on in there. Good camera moves, some fake zooms in there. That's legit. We're like, crap. So what do we do? So we found a photographer in New York City that could walk around with a couple of friends and point up the Empire State Building and say, "Oh my God." And then he got us that footage. And while that was happening, we ran over to JD, who's just down the street, and, got a North Face jacket, stuffed it full of Amazon boxes, and to give it the appearance of being full of the Empire State Building, right? And then we did this, which is super fun. This is Luma. And this was taken in our office on an iPhone, and it basically LiDAR scans objects. So what's really cool is that you can pull an object from the scan and then bring it into your favorite 3D compositing program. But the cool thing is, like, could you imagine trying to make this thing in like a couple of days? No, like North Face is like, our jacket doesn't look like that. And JD's like, well, I don't know if that's the way the jacket's supposed to look like. No, let's eliminate all that BS and just scan the thing in real life, right? And then extract the 3D file we can use with all the textures, it's modeled correctly because it's the jacket. And then we did this. Yeah, fun stuff. Proved the point. Took a couple of days, over 1 million impressions in less than a week. The parka like just exceeded sales expectations. And like, this is what I mean about blowing up your traditional workflow. Like, most places wouldn't have touched this stuff with a 10-foot pole. But if you know what these tools can do, this is amazing stuff. Reinvent the workflow, guys. So let's talk about big steps. And that's where I'm kind of going with this. It's time to take a hard look at your current workflow. The best creative teams right now aren't just using AI, they're using AI to eliminate workflow bottlenecks. So clients and vendors and creatives all function together as like one cohesive unit. And remember, like, it's a multiplier, not a replacement. And the people who curate and direct this stuff when these AI enhanced workflows are the winners right now. So you got to think about like how you can apply this to what you're doing. And let's dip back to generative video for a second. But the fact that you can just create your own scenes, your own B-roll is just mind blowing. And you can, prompt it based on, you can give it visual incentives from other things that you've provided to it. You can train a model. You can create things off of what you already have. And the fidelity is amazing. Plus, this is really neat stuff for like any designer. I mean, make your own stock, right? Like fur simulations, smoke, fire, water, like do what you need, make what you need rather than like ripping around on, Envato or Getty trying to search for the right specific stock and, shoehorning it into your thing. Just make it. You can just make it. And then if you ever have an idea that's like impossible to explain or you just don't have the skill set to show somebody like what you mean, just create your own VFX. Like you can prompt this. Like the barrier for entry for this is nearly eliminated if you know how to work the tools. Like make the Pepsi rain from the sky and spill over the street. And it's a lemon that turns into a bird. Like here you go. You can do this now. Like it doesn't have to come from a designer, right? Like that's the thing is everybody starts to, be able to have access to this kind of creativity. And I'm going to show you some low hanging fruit here. But VFX cleanup is a huge time suck for us. So this is one everybody probably knows about already. But um, we get high res footage when we edit, right? It's 4K, it's open gate. That means it's usually kind of 4:3-ish, it's squarey. That allows us to have some flexibility in the composition, right? If the editor wants to kind of change up the scene or back out a little bit or, move things around, that's cool. But what it does is it starts to show things that weren't intended to be in the shot, right? Like a couple of C stands and wires and things like that. Well, that's fine. Just get rid of it and it's gone. And then you track it back in, add some noise. Stupid easy, right? Background replacement, shooting in Denver in somebody's backyard, and now we're having an espresso in Milan. So, this traditional workflow means cleanup comes after editing, right? Like if the like, oh, we'll take care of that later. In the back of your head, you're like, oh, that cleanup's going to suck, right? But if the editor is now empowered to know and use the tools at their disposal, just do it now, right? Do it in a fraction of the time and keep everybody in that creative flow state. So then let's problem solve. A big pain point for Vail Resorts is that every shoot day needs to be a bluebird sunny day. And unfortunately, we can't control the weather. So this is an edit we did, where the sky was 90% overcast. And, there it could be a lot stronger on a sunnier day. I wish we had some control over that. Well, you can, and this is great. So what we're doing is we're using our client's IP to totally reimagine footage. So now it's sunny. Now there's shadows. There's the mountain. Like it's the same shot. It's just sunny now. And so take a look at this difference between these two versions of these spots I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you side by side with all the sun. I mean, you tell me which one you'd want to go to, right? So, and then you take it one step further and you give it like an animated look. Nothing's stopping you from coming up with ideas, solutions, random stuff that you thought might be cool, to try out. Like, guys, this is creative flow. This is what I'm talking about. You just don't have any of these limitations. Here's a real world example of something we were on a kickoff Zoom call for a new project with one of our clients. I took a screenshot of this. The client, curated these cafe shots they like. They wish they could have been combined. So on the call, we did a little Gen AI exploration and had them all have a baby and give them options. And, they were like, you're a warlock. Like, what is that? So it was their first introduction to how generative AI can, get a lot of the steps out of the way. So they took that back to their design team. They made a Photoshop composite, ignore the crude talent and Cafe Jabloni thing. And then we made this.
Bold, citrusy, and hoppy. Highlight, the best beer you probably can't pronounce.
I mean, it's fun when you start mixing all these things, these pillars that you built your career on together with different tools, right? And that's the point of this, is to show you like you can, keep a lot of like what made you great. You have to, but you should be able to be open to try all these new tools out, and let your clients experience that as well. And then let's take another step further. Let's ideate with our client. Here's some, explorations of some environments that we did for a spot. And then here's a green screen shoot that we, to grab little actual people and put some motion tracking points up there. Here's some environments for them to live in. Let's do some image to video renders of their environments and define camera moves. And then suddenly we're making our own, visual content, and then toss them all together in After Effects and shake them up and make a commercial.
It's another superb day in Innard City, thanks to the Flora Restorers working hard to flush out the bad and boost your own good bacteria. Thanks to them, your gut is more balanced and resilient. With Florastore probiotics, it's all systems go.
So yeah, I've shown you a lot today, right? And you're like, Chris, this is cool stuff, but like my team's not on board yet. Um, the key to getting buy-in is really just like starting small, right? Like one tool, one workflow shift, show the results, and suddenly people stop resisting and start asking, like, hey, how do we do more of this stuff? And everything I've shown you today has been work with clients that initially resisted using AI when I approached them with it a few years back. So now it's really important to like at least try. You have to understand how this stuff is going to work. So, three key points to remember, right? The old way is slow, right? It's full bloated, it's full of bottlenecks, blow up your old workflow. AI is not just about efficiency, right? It's about unlocking creativity. And if you cling to outdated workflows, you're going to get left behind. The best teams are the ones willing to blow up what's broken and build something better. So you got to ask yourself, like, what part of the workflow is slowing you down? Like, what's stopping your team from being as creative as possible? Like, what outdated processes need to go? Blow it up, rebuild it smarter. And, AI is your amplifier, right? It's not replacing creativity, it's removing all the friction. There's no more blank page syndrome, helps you create, you know, ideate, iterate faster. It's amazing. And generate, refine, experiment, like, and with you in the driver's seat, right? And the best work happens is when AI handles all that busy work and humans bring the vision. And you got to think of it as like a collaborator, not your competitor. Understand it, needs talk to it in the way that it needs to be talked to, and build tools with it. Like I've only scratched the surface of what's out there. This is basic stuff. Like anybody can use any of these tools I've shown you. But some of my friends are building entire workflows that are just incredible. That one tool talks to the next, talks to the next, talks to the next, learns from that, goes back, iterates off of that without, you doing anything other than just giving it something to go off of. Like that stuff is incredible. That's where things are going. That's where they're at now. So as part of the process, the power isn't in the output. It's like how you use it to make better, faster, and more innovative creative decisions. And, speaking of my buddy, this is my buddy Brent Peterson. He's an amazing AI guru, dude. Him and I back and forth all the time on this stuff. He came up with this phrase that I've ripped off completely that I just think is perfect, called the creative generalist. And it's a new type of creative mindset. It's so necessary. So AI has really removed a lot of barriers, right? Like creatives can now operate across multiple disciplines. And the best creatives aren't just specialists, right? They're multi skilled problem solvers. They're interested in other things, they're getting good at other things. You can be really great at more than one thing. And, that adaptability is really, really powerful. So the ability to pivot between roles really makes you unstoppable. And then when you get a team full of creative generalists, they move at a speed that scares the shit out of everyone. And so, like, I don't even look for editors or VFX artists or designers anymore. I look for people who can do it all, right? Because that's where things need to go. So these days of like rigid roles are over. The more skills you have, the more valuable you are. And the more AI assists, the more dangerous you become. And I think like that's a great takeaway. But there's actually like another key point here, which is the title, right? So foster your creative flow. The flow state again is like creativity feeling effortless, and AI helps you stay there longer. It removes the distractions, it removes the busy work, it keeps you in a deep creative focus. um, and like I said earlier, the best teams that aren't just using AI, they're learning, they're experimenting, then they're integrating it seamlessly, so that work just kind of feels natural. And that like frictionless collaboration leads to better work. And when AI can take care of the technical grunt stuff, creatives can stay focused on storytelling and execution. And the best ideas come from when these teams work fluidly. So whatever the tools they need to do that should be provided to them. So without, then that way they don't have to wait on bottlenecks or approvals or repetitive tasks, like in the end, the whole point of this presentation is be creative again, right? And have fun staying that way. Like this is a fun industry. Like being creative is tough. So knowing tools and experimenting and trying things out, that's what creatives do. That's exactly what this whole presentation is about. And when it's built into your workflow the right way, the whole team moves in sync. So that's creative flow. And if you take these four principles and you apply them, you won't just keep up, you're going to lead. And AI isn't the future, it's happening now. And the only question is really like, how will you use it? So, so hey, thanks. Cheers to you guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And look, like, this stuff's changing too fast for any one person to keep up on alone. Like it's nuts. And that's why soon, I'm gonna launch Agent 11, and it's a company to help creatives and uh teams navigate AI and cut through the noise and build workflows that work for them, regardless of their skill level. So if you want help figuring this stuff out, like let's talk. Like there's all my stuff on the screen, there's my email. Hit me up on LinkedIn, if you want to look at my dog and my kids, that's my Instagram. Um, and or if you want to just dork out and ask questions, that's totally awesome. I love that kind of thing. So yeah. So appreciate you all, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. So there we go. I
Thank you
think I'm
so
back.
much, Chris. That was awesome. I am now a big fan of Duke. He's my new favorite golden retriever. I love
He's a
that.
cool dude. Duke is awesome. Yeah, he's like an
Yeah.
ottoman. Yeah.
Um, we've had a couple questions, Chris. Specifically, if you could do like a quick rundown of the programs and tools you use at like what portion of your workflow. So like you'd mentioned like ChatGPT is good use for writing. So you start there and then you use them for prompts to put into, I think you said Runway. If you could just
Yeah.
kind of like lay that da 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 and then and then I'll ask the second part when you after you
Yeah,
do that.
for sure, for sure. So it's kind of a combo of like a lot of Adobe Suite programs and Runway, their suite of AI tools. There's some Mid Journey tossed in there, which I'm sure everybody's had a chance to play with. Trying to think what else. 11 Labs, Artlist for the VO, um, Suno, Udio for music. Trying to think if there's anything else I missed. And honestly, like that's really it. Like it's just a few simple things that are not really that much work to use. And the idea is just trying to like figure out like, oh, this might, help me out right here if I do this little thing, or like now I can do this with this thing. And as that tool constantly evolves and Adobe keeps pushing, generative AI into like all of their apps and, Firefly and all this, rights managed stuff, like it's just going to be permeated into your day-to-day work. And honestly, a lot of these AI tools have been in you've been using them already, right? Like there's things
Right.
that you may not realize are AI that are definitely you've been playing with. So it's just now it's in your face, right?
Yeah.
And now it's saleable and it's monthly subscription. So, you know, but that's it. That's it. And there's a lot of custom workflows that you can develop here. And like that's another whole other presentation, but just to kind of get everybody's feet wet, this is how we like to start. So
Cool. Cool. Somebody did ask specifically the program you used for the sun replacement in the ski spot.
That's Runway.
That's Runway. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And
So
then,
they have a
okay,
cool, yeah, they have a really cool video to video option in there, where I just prompted it to make the sky blue and, make it a bluebird day. And a lot of it came down to just prompting it correctly in order to do that. And you got to like tweak it a little bit for each shot, but to get like a uniform look across the board. But then that's you curating that. That's how that works.
okay. I'm getting some good questions here.
Cool.
Question about this. You're not a lawyer, but you might be able to help answer this. Legal issues around using AI in final production work. Worked at agencies that are trying to embrace it, but can't really do it properly because there are issues with liability and ownership.
Yeah, so a lot of it is like I won't take something from Mid-Journey and use it in my final product. Like
Okay.
we'll get boards that are Mid-Journey, and I'm like, that's cool. So we got to recreate this from this look. And generally you know the reception is not positive when I tell them that. But like that's I don't want them or ourselves to get in trouble. So a lot of what we're using is within Photoshop and Firefly. And
Okay.
that way we know where things are coming from. And then we'll take those elements and, bring those in and create our own custom models and curate from that. So when it comes to like, making audio of custom VO of your own voice, that's you, right? Like you're able to do that because you said it's okay. And that all is in agreement with the talent if we decide to do that or not. So nobody's like getting surprised by anything. And like, honestly, that hones down a lot of like what you can do. Like you probably are inundated with a lot of like really cool AI stuff on like Instagram and on LinkedIn, and like you can't use 90% of that stuff. Nobody knows where that stuff got scraped from. I had a meeting at Google yesterday and they're talking about their new model and they're like, yeah, we just like scoured YouTube. And I'm like, how do you use that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's things like that that you if you're going to try to like use this in a workflow, you've got to know where it's coming from. And like that's another point too, is just ethically, you know you can't squeeze something in. Like there's a big like the US Copyright Office just released like AI guidelines about a month ago, and I posted them on my LinkedIn. But what it boils down to is that there has to be some kind of human interaction, right? Like you can copyright a prompt if you have creative purpose, intent, design aesthetic, direction, and then you can take, generative work, and as long as you're altering it in a fashion with a human at the wheel, you can use that. That's copyrightable work. So take a look at that stuff because those rules just changed. And there's a lot of things that are going to happen where it's going to move a lot faster than the lawyers can right now. So you got to just kind of keep up on that. And, I don't want to go to court, for anything. So I keep my focus real narrow on what we can and can't use. So you just got to have that same mentality and say, I know where this tool is coming from. I know where it's pulling imageries from. It's pulling from a stock library. Cool. And right now, Photoshop's really doing, or Adobe Firefly's doing a really good job of that. So that's all trained on their Adobe stock library, which you're already paying for, by having
Right.
that chip. So
Right. Cool. Thank you. So we've got another question. Can I run this all online? There's a point in recent years where I was told you need a powerhouse computer, but I only have a MacBook Air. What do you?
yeah, that's the cool part about a lot of this stuff is that, um, if you're using After Effects, if you're editing, you probably want a decent computer. But if you're using, Runway, you're not processing that.
Right.
That's farmed out. That's cloud-based stuff. So, same thing with Runway, with ChatGPT. Like it's not using your computer to make that stuff. All you need is just enough space to store down what you download from it. And then, after that, the world's up to you. So you can, create your own, you can run locally. You can run any of these models locally. Then you need a big ass computer.
Right.
The bigger, the better, otherwise you're going to learn lessons in patience. And going down to Micro Center and trying to buy like that 5090, and
Right.
waiting in line with a bunch of people eating Taco Bell. Like you don't need none of that. So um that and like I do play in that realm too because that helps me experiment. So I that helps me understand how these things work on a much more, basic integrated level. So I know like 9 times out of 10, like I got real frustrated with some of these locally run, um, models because I didn't know how to properly tell it that my hardware was only so big, or I didn't know that this node needed to be connected to this node. And once I kind of figured that out, I'm like, okay, well, a lot of what I'm seeing online is making a lot more sense. So there is an advantage to like just trying it, and seeing what it's like locally if you do have the horsepower. But even just like that's a little bit more advanced of a step. I think and this was mostly just like get your toes wet, right? Like try one thing out, see how it
Right.
works, try another thing out, and see how it works. So there's always like that's the answer to that question. Yeah, you can buy a big ass computer and run this stuff at home if you want, but your power bill is going to go up about 100, $200 a month.
We don't want that.
No, you don't want none of
So
that.
next question. Oh, what time is it? We got a little more time. How do you keep up with the latest updates on Midjourney, Runway, etc.?
Oh
Are
God, I
YouTube
tell.
tutorials, or are you just getting your hands dirty and learning on the fly?
Oh God, it's so hard. It is so hard. And it gets to a point where you're just kind of like, you know what? I'm getting washed over by so many different tools. I just start looking for things that make sense to me. And it's not like I have to hunt this out. Like my doom scrolling on Instagram at night has like perfectly pegged me as a dude looking for AI, generative AI stuff. And 90% of what I see is that now. So now I've got to kind of reset the algorithm a little bit because it gets too much. But again, it's there's all of these potential tools out there that you can use. A lot of it is just really talking to people, seeing what they're actually doing in the real world with it, because you know a lot of what you see is hype. Like it's a model that somebody already made like a few years ago that's now they've figured out to make into an app, or there's something groundbreaking that's coming out of China that is incredible and blows the doors off of everything that the US is making right now. You just have to be aware of like where that's coming from and do a little bit of your own research. So you may find a tool that nobody else knows of or ever heard of, and like that's cool. If you can make that work for you, you should do that. So don't get bent out of shape trying to figure out and keep up on like what's what. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So if you're a motion graphics designer, maybe you want to try to find things that would, apps or, these generative tools that will help you out with that, and then hone your focus in on that. It's just way too much going on right now. So
Yeah. Time is it? Okay. So good. So many questions. Trying to find some good ones that kind of combine some of the other questions we've
okay.
had. Okay, here's a good one. What do you say to creatives who still cling to the tired old notion that AI is going to take all of our jobs?
I mean, if they don't want to use the new tools, and this isn't just an AI thing, right? Like I like to talk about when it went from video, or when it went from film to video, everybody was like, "Oh my God, this industry is dead." And then when it went from video to DV, it's like, oh my God, the college kids are going to take our jobs. And then it goes from like Final Cut and, 4K video. And now this, it's like, why wouldn't you want to know how to progress your career, right? Like what's preventing you, And I know people in the industry that it's really seasoned, amazing creatives that are just like pulling the ripcord. They're like, you know what? I'm done. I can't keep up. I'm tired. And like, sometimes I see that and I'm like, good for you, bro. Because if you have to want to know these tools, right? You have to want
Yeah,
to learn. And I feel like when you stop having that, uh, incentive to learn, that's where like you got to check yourself a little bit, because that's not just an AI thing. That's just kind of a creativity thing and being curious. And that's always kept me rolling, is just my first thing I said to you guys. I'm an early adopter, right? Like I'm that guy putting the new OS update on. I'm putting the new version of Premiere on. I'm putting the beta on. I'm screwing up all my apps, just so I can see what it does, right? And then I can tell
right.
everybody like, yo, don't install that yet. So I'm kind of the guinea pig for a lot of things around here, just to see what it's like. But like that's I love that stuff. That's what I'm all about. So I see this like this really like fast curve of new tools coming out like at a speed like I've never seen before. And like, it's either you want to try or you don't, and that's why I keep saying, like, you gotta hone in, right?
Stay curious.
Stay curious, pick your specialty, see where that brings you, and that might, take your core competency and branch out from it, and then branch out again, and then branch out again, and suddenly you become this really dangerous creative again, So that's part of like what I want to try to like instill in people is that, yeah, it's crazy, it's okay, like it's nuts for everybody right now, but if you know how to make this work for you in your lane, like you will have a good time. Like you will do things that other people are not doing and really differentiate yourself and get all these great, you know, byproducts, like I was saying, like this new kind of client relationship and this, client experience. Like I'm in a big ass suite right now. Like this is one of our edit suites. This is like a comfy living room. I mean, people hang out here for for weeks or for a month or whatever. There's 5 of these here. So whatever's going to make that relationship better and just allow us to kind of be people again, being creative, that's the incentive, like that's where you really want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a long-winded answer for you. Hope I
No,
answered
it's
that.
good.
A few
And
other
it, it
things.
it bridges over to this next question that I think is great. So in the pizza commercial voiceover workflow where you've trained a model on the professional talent's voice, can you clarify on if the generated voice is only used for edit timings and then re-recorded for final, or if you're using the generated voiceover for the finals, and how do you handle the talent union issues? Ooh, I didn't, that's a good one. Union issues.
I did not make the model. So other places, the agency made the model. So they are the ones who know all the legal ins and outs of that stuff. So I can't answer that question for you though. But what I can answer is that the scratch VO is just for timing. So that gets sent off to the client so they have an idea of like what that's going to kind of sound like. It's better than me, right? Like, and I do scratch VOs around the office a lot, but I'm the opposite of what, the lady sounds like. Um, so it's better to have something kind of close so they get the vibe. But what it does is it sets up like, hey, this is the pace you got to read at, right? And we've evolved the script so this fits within X amount of seconds. Cool, go. And then she gets in a booth, knocks everything out. I'm sure they paid her pretty well to make a model of her voice so she didn't have to, be in the booth reading scratch stuff. So I'm sure there's something, going on behind the scenes there that, is lucrative for everybody and probably gets around all that stuff and, in the legal issues. So again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't answer that question for you, but that's how we use it.
Yeah, nice. Oh, so many questions. Let's see if I can find one. What time is it? I think we could do one more.
Yeah, let's do one more.
Um, some of these kind of answered all together. Let's do, while using AI to create video effects or paint out flaws, are you doing this with the offline footage, with the shitty looking LUT? I don't know what that means. You may.
I do.
I have only been using it once. The footage is colored and online to maintain the look and quality. While using image generation in the offline edit, it seems like it will be difficult to match the outcome of the prompts to get the same look with the finished colored one online.
Yep. So there's a couple ways you can look at that. There's ways to do it in After Effects where it's, non-destructive. So for instance, if you've got an adjustment layer and you're, painting out or doing, background removals or cloning or any, background extensions, that doesn't matter that you can slide in a new piece of footage underneath of that. It's just going to sample the same spots. If you're doing something that is a still that you've exported from a piece of video and then you affect that and bring it in and track it, it's that piece of video's color space.
Right.
So yeah, you'll probably have to do that again, but it probably didn't take you that long to do it in the first place. So that's where, like because I'm always of the school, like I don't want to touch any of the VFX work until it's all colored and ready to rock. I can't do that. We don't have the time to do that anymore. I have to start working on VFX stuff with footage as it is. So you have to figure out all these non-destructive ways to do what you need to do. And then, at working within I forgot the name of it. I'll talk to my buddy Dave about it, but there's this color space where you can have this active live color space. And, that's where tools like Resolve and Fusion like really excel because they let you actively work on something while the person is still coloring it. So you can work from a proxy that's from the original footage and then have it replaced, and all of your stuff, your nodes, your everything still applies to the same spot. So After Effects kind of like a brute force way to do that. There are better tools for doing that. I don't know which compositing software you're using for it, but yeah, you got to figure out ways to do it non-destructively. But for quick stuff, you just want to get it out of the client's brain. Takes a couple seconds to do it on just something with a LUT burned in that's a proxy. Just do it real quick and then move on with your day. That's kind of the point of these tools.
Right. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for your time. I
Thank
wanted to let
you.
everybody
Yeah.
know we're going to keep a recording of this. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel, and I'm sure we'll share it on all our social channels. So if you guys have additional questions, Chris gave us his info, and then also you're welcome to ask questions on our YouTube channel or our social media, anything you guys need. But thank you so much, Chris. I really
Hey,
appreciated this.
yeah, appreciate you guys too. And thanks for letting me ramble and ramble and ramble here. And hope everybody has a lovely lunch. We'll
Yes,
talk to you
thank
soon.
you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Please don't freeze. Machine just roll like a cipher flow smooth. Keep it in.